Hello and welcome to Ambassador Press Club in TVRI World with me, Siska Becker. In this special program, we are allowed to learn in depth about the trade relations between two countries, about the opportunities and challenges, and what the future holds for both of the countries in terms of trade relations. And for this very special edition, it's all about Indonesia and Russia relations. Now, as we know, Russia and Indonesia are linked by long-standing friendship and close ties throughout the history of both of our countries. So today we are very honored. We have the utmost privilege of having the Russian ambassador to Indonesia, His Excellency Mr. Sergey Tolchenov, and Russian Trade Representative Mr. Alex Masaltsev right here in the studio with us. Good day, gentlemen. Welcome, Your Excellency. Such an honor to first meet you for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. It's also my privilege to be here.
Of course. The honor is completely ours. And of course, very much excited to talk with you as well, Mr. Alex Masaltsev.
Thank you for the invitation.
Of course. Your Excellency, if you don't mind, I would love to start the first question with you, especially about the current relations between our great countries. Now, Indonesia and Russia have long been intertwined in history, in political and economic cooperation. And it's always interesting to talk about the relationship between Indonesia and Russia. But what makes it even more interesting now in this point in time, because Indonesia now has a brand new government. And as we know, President Prabowo, when he was still president-elect even, came to see President Putin in Russia. Now maybe you can give us the Russian perspective on what can we expect of Indonesia's and Russia's relationship now that a new year is coming.
Well, I believe we should expect continuity in our bilateral relations because historically it doesn't matter what government was in Indonesia and who was the leader of the, in my country, in former Soviet Union or the Russian Federation. We have an excellent, especially political relations between our countries. And if I don't mind, His Excellency Prabowo Subianto is the 8th president of the Republic of Indonesia, and if I'm not mistaken, most of his predecessors have meetings with the leaders of my country, starting from first President Sukarno, who have visited the former Soviet Union several times, and all the others, even President Suharto, Megawati, SBY, Jokowi, and you are completely right, Prabowo Subianto, even when he was president-elect, he visited Moscow July this year and had a meeting with the President of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin. So it means that we have a very good ties and we have a very deep political dialogue. That's why I really believe that we have a very good prospects for the future, for coming years.
Okay, based on the very good ongoing relationship so far. But maybe you can tell us a little bit more about what was discussed between President-elect Prabowo at that time with President Vladimir Putin in terms of strengthening the relations politically and economically.
So regarding political issues, I believe so they discussed, first of all, the desire to promote political dialogue at different levels because, of course, meetings of the two leaders give an impetus to bilateral relations, but we should translate maybe these arrangements reached between the two leaders in some practical issues, in some meetings between officials from different ministries, representatives from both parliaments, public organizations, and so on, into exchanges in educational, youth, sports, and some other activities. And of course, what is our main topic? It's our economic and trade relations, which should be basis of our bilateral ties. So they also discuss, but of course in general terms, but in different areas: trade volume, some priorities in our investments and technical cooperation, scientific cooperation. So they touch upon everything, and now I believe so. Two governments and different ministries and organizations should implement these agreements.
Okay, so a lot of areas were covered.
Yes,
during this discussion.
Most all of them.
Okay. Okay, that's encouraging to know.
Yes,
Now,
sure.
before I ask any more in-depth questions about trade, Your Excellency, just one more question. We know that we are living in the era of global instability. A lot of issues and conflicts are happening in different parts of the world. Is that also a factor between Indonesia and Russia and how they would working together to try to pursue the resolution of these conflicts?
Well,
Because that also affects trade relations as well, is what I'm getting at.
Yes, but not only the conflicts, but I think that the current states of situation in the world, when some what we call global minority try to impose some illegal measures against other countries, especially against my country and some other, and what we call sometimes like a policy of neocolonialism, and when they imply sanctions that can even raise some barriers preventing from bilateral payments, bilateral trade and other contacts. This is a real problem, not maybe the conflict. And even, you know, some countries pretend that current crisis regarding food and energy in the world, this is the result of the current political crisis. It's not completely true. It's not only, maybe it's only one of the reasons, but other reasons, it's the policy of some, especially Western countries.
Okay, so the point is Indonesia and Russia is ready to do business together.
Yes,
in the coming year.
I believe so. It could be, we can do business as usual.
Yeah. All right, now let's talk business then.
Yep.
Mr. Masaltsev, maybe you can give us now a short summary, quite a recap of 2024 when it comes to trade relations between Indonesia and Russia. How has it been?
I'll try, do my best. Actually, now we observe the positive dynamics of the trade, current trade between Republic of Indonesia and Russian Federation, and it reflects in strengthening of our economic cooperation at home. But despite this, the dynamics and strengthening of cooperation not fully reflected in our trade statistics. We actually now our main goal of our country and of our partners from Republic of Indonesia is to transit the current existing trade towards the deeper collaboration in the sphere of industry as well as techniques and scientists.
Okay, now to understand the current scope of trade relations, what are the current key areas of trade and economic cooperations between Indonesia and Russia? Like maybe you could tell us what are the main commodities being exchanged at this moment?
According to the Indonesian Statistic Agency, BPS, from January 2024 till the October 2024, our trade turnover decreased by 2.3%. And it's amounted 2 billion and 400 million USA dollars. Russian export up to 34%. Yes, and it amounted 1 billion and 500 million dollars, and import from Republic of Indonesia 880 million USA dollars. This brief decline, as I mentioned before, 2.3%, is because not only to my point of view, but because of the experts' point of view, because of the changes in the commodity prices over the year. And as I mentioned before, it's crucial to evolve our current existing turnover, reaching the success in industrial and technical spheres.
Okay. So overall, if I can put it simply, business is currently good, but it can be better. And there's a lot of opportunities to be taken.
Yes.
Really like this.
All right. Gentlemen, we'll take a short break, but when we get back, I would love to talk more about Russia's investment in Indonesia to get a better understanding of how Russia is actually prevalent in everyday lives right here in Indonesia. So don't go anywhere. Ambassador Press Club will be right back right here on TVRI World. Welcome back to Ambassador Press Club right here in TVRI World with my very special guest, His Excellency Sergey Tolchenov, the Russian ambassador to Indonesia, and also Mr. Alex Masaltsev, trade representative of Russia. We're talking about trade relations between Indonesia and Russia. And based on our current conversation and current relations between our two countries, business is doing good. But let's learn more about Russia's investment in Indonesia, especially right now as we are nearing the end of 2024. Your Excellency, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about how historically Russia has actually been quite a big investor in Indonesia and which key areas has been the biggest investment for Russia in Indonesia.
Well, you know, so if we look deep in the history, we should tell about not our investment, maybe unfortunately, yeah, but about our helping hand and our gifts to Indonesian nations. What we have done in the earlier stages of our bilateral history, at the end of, especially at the end of 1950s and beginning 1960s, what some experts and historians called like a golden decade in our bilateral relations. And since then, there are still some landmarks of our bilateral relations, even here in Jakarta, like Gelora Bung Karno Stadium, Rumah Sakit Persahabatan, and some other objects. And also, we should not forget about two roads in Kalimantan that still exist and still serve as transportation system on this island. But it was just a gift to the government of Indonesia from the government of former Soviet Union. We do not put a lot of investment, but we are still looking, I believe, so in such possibilities in the future. And we are see that we have some very prominent areas of bilateral cooperation when we have our competence, I mean Russian competence, and we could propose our Indonesian colleagues fruitful cooperation in the future.
Yeah. Okay, very interesting. And to see those monuments still in sight right now truly shows the strength of the relationship between Indonesia and Russia as well. It's a true testament of the friendship of our countries. Exactly. So, Mr. Masaltsev, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about Russian investment in Indonesia. Now, as we know, our previous president, President Joko Widodo, was really focused on development of infrastructure, whereas President Prabowo Subianto has highlighted his need of food security and energy independence in Indonesia. Now, could you tell us more about that specific need of Indonesia and any current investment that is going on with Russia business people?
Actually, nowadays there are several projects which are being implemented by our company, mostly in the sphere of energy sector.
Okay.
I mean nuclear as well as oil and gas industry production. We also promoting our proposals to the future mutual projects with Indonesian partners in such spheres as medicine, agriculture,
Okay.
machinery,
Mm.
chemics, and IT. Yes,
Okay.
the IT is the key sector for our today's collaboration, and I want to explain why.
Okay.
Actually, the IT sector has been growing very fast in Indonesia due to many factors, as saturation of the Indonesian market by mobile devices and gadgets with software application, to name one.
Okay.
And the other factor is the urbanization and the growing quality of education in IT-related sector. And Indonesian government is very much interested in attracting not only Russian, but
Okay.
different foreign companies to collaborate in the IT sphere. That's why Russian companies here have to deal with a tough competition. And I'm proud to say that they're doing well.
Okay.
And according to the experts' opinion, the market, the IT market of the Indonesia, e-commerce
Okay.
especially, will estimate as $1 billion in 2025.
Okay.
It's huge. It's very huge, and the matter is that nowadays the involve of the IT sector to our everyday life is so huge that it attracts greatest demand in cybersecurity, because the matter of the problem of data leaks is not the problem of Indonesia or some single country.
Okay.
This matter varies all the world, and the professionalism and skillful of Russian companies
Okay.
who have shown their success, their good results in countering different hacker attacks against the Russian Federation, of course, will be very interesting and useful for our Indonesian partners, and in turn, they are ready to work with us.
Okay, that's very encouraging to learn, actually. Now, Mr. Masaltsev, this particular program will be broadcasted globally. So in the off chance that some Russian investors might be watching this very conversation, maybe you can tell us a little bit more. How would you suggest a Russian investor watching us right now about which sectors in Indonesia would be most promising and most attractive for Russian investors? And how would the trade representation here in Jakarta facilitate these investments?
As I mentioned before, the key sector is IT, and the second one is agriculture. Agriculture, because as you know, it's not a secret that Republic of Indonesia is the largest consumer of the wheat.
Yes.
And its annual import rates from 11 to 12 millions of tons. And it's a great news that after the brief pause in 2023, Russia has returned to the Indonesian market with the Russian wheat. It's good news.
Okay.
And a good signal for Russian investors in agricultural sphere. And as for trade representation, it's our job to find partners for Indonesian counterparts.
Yes.
Yes, and to connect them with each other. It's our job. We'll do it every day.
Okay. Your Excellency, just a quick question to you before we go to our next break. Mr. Masaltsev has mentioned the key sector of agriculture as a cooperation between our countries. Now, of course, this relates very strongly to the issue of food security, which will be imminently a global crisis in the upcoming years. Can you maybe tell us a little bit more about how Indonesia and Russia are both committed to tackling this problem through trade relations and economic cooperations?
Well, Mr. Alex, he told about food security, but let me also draw your attention to energy security in Indonesia, because we also understand that for smooth development of your economy, you need a very strong energy basis. And especially when Indonesia got a very strong commitment to green economy and to decommissioning of, for example, coal fueling power stations. And we are looking at the possibility to cooperate with our Indonesian colleagues in this sphere too, because Russia is also a large producer of LNG, for example, which could be useful for your country. But another one very important issue, we really believe, and experts believe, that in this future energy mix here in Indonesia, nuclear energy also should take part. And we hear more and more every day from even high-level Indonesian officials that nuclear will be the future energy here in your country. And I am proud to say that Russian state company Rosatom is a major player on nuclear energy market in the world, and they are really ready to work with Indonesia in different aspects, in different projects. We just should understand when Indonesian government will officially announce that nuclear programs are possible here in the country, and we are ready to be in.
All right, Mr. Ambassador, Mr. Masaltsev, thank you for this enlightening conversation about Russia's investment in Indonesia. In the next segment, we'll love to learn more about the opportunities for Indonesia's investors in Russia. So don't go anywhere. That'll be our talking point in the next segment right here in Ambassador Press Club. We'll be right back. Thank you for staying with us right here in TV RI World for Ambassador Press Club. We are still talking about the trade relations between Russia and Indonesia. Now, we've covered the history of our bilateral relationship and also of Russia's investment in Indonesia. And now we're going to talk in depth about the opportunities for Indonesian investors in Russia. And lucky us, we have two very special guests in the studio still joining us. His Excellency Sergey Tolchenov, the Russian ambassador to Indonesia, and Mr. Alex Masaltsev, trade representative of Russia. Your Excellency, before we talk more in details about investment opportunities for Indonesian business people, could you tell us first what progress has been made on the Indonesia-Eurasian Economic Union, or EAEU, free trade agreement, and how do you envision it impacting trade between our two nations?
I can say that July this year we held here in Indonesia the fifth round of bilateral talks to finalize the draft agreement on free trade between European Economic Union and the Republic of Indonesia. And it was officially announced that it was the final round of official negotiations.
Okay.
Of course, now there are still some technical issues that should be discussed and finalized by the experts of the two sides, but we are looking for the possibility to finalize the whole text of this agreement next year, and so then after internal procedures in every, in the European Economic Union, in all 5 member states, and in the Republic of Indonesia, we will be ready to sign this document. And we still hope that this will open the way for our bilateral trade, investments, and cooperation in other economic fields. And we can see in the example of other countries with which we have signed such documents. For example, the first one was, by the way, your neighbor in the region, Vietnam.
Okay.
And after the signing and implementation of this agreement, the trade has increased significantly. So we hope the still will be, also will be the way of our bilateral cooperation with Indonesia.
Okay. Hopefully it'll propel the trade relations to
Yes.
even stronger ties. Okay, that's good to know. Mr. Masaltsev, maybe you can tell us now, how is the Trade Representation Office here in Indonesia, in Jakarta, promote trade between Indonesian business people and investment opportunities in Russia? And is there any support mechanism that are available for companies in Indonesia to invest or do business in Russia?
Actually, I want to add something.
Yes, please do.
About free trade agreement, because to my mind this is a very special and very useful mechanism.
You're excited about
Yes,
this agreement.
Yes,
that's good.
of promoting our mutual trade, because essentially we are speaking about removing barriers on the way of Indonesian products to the market, not only of the Russia.
Could you give an example? What sort of barriers were there before that?
I mean, the export and import taxes.
Okay.
First of all,
Okay.
now it will be zero for
Yes.
mostly more of 80% of our turnover. It's very
That's
good.
huge,
It's very huge.
Yeah.
So, as for the special spheres, which will be interesting to the Indonesian partners, first of all, we are talking about again agricultural sphere, and especially to the export of palm oil.
Okay.
Palm oil from Indonesia to Russian market, because it's not a secret that Indonesia is the largest producer and exporter in the world of this kind of product, and number one of the exporter to the Russian market. But of course, we are not stopped only on the palm oil. And every day during our meetings and video conferences and conversations with Indonesian partners, we are looking for new opportunities to extend the turnover, to extend the rate of products, which will be interesting. Indonesian products will be interesting in Russian market. I'm talking about, first of all, seasonal fruits.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Have you yourself tried these seasonal fruits, Indonesian seasonal fruits? They can be an acquired taste, I would say.
Yes,
Do you think they will be appealing to the Russian market?
I know for sure that especially Indonesian seasonal fruits, they are very popular in Russian market. Of course, coffee, cacao, and different spices.
Okay.
They are popular all over the world and in Russia as well.
Okay, interesting. Now, Your Excellency, you recently, with your team as well, visited the Indonesian Capital Authority, IKN, Nusantara. Maybe you can, you haven't. Okay, do you plan to? Have you been learning about the investment opportunities?
If we will be invited, because when I came to Jakarta 5 months ago, there was one idea to bring foreign ambassadors to IKN to celebrate your National Day in August, but suddenly it was cancelled at the last minute. So since then there was no any specific invitation for us. So we are looking for such a possibilities, maybe together with Mr. Alexander.
That would be an excellent opportunity to learn more.
Yes, sure.
Okay, but since the 5 months that you've been stationed here in Jakarta, what has been the most fascinating aspect that you learned about Indonesia, and how would you convey that to the business people in Russia, and how they should conduct business with Indonesia?
Well, so I find out that there's still very big interest to my country and to have business contacts with Russian counterparts. And what I can say to my Russian colleagues that we just would like to encourage them. We are always saying that Indonesians are very friendly people. They would like to have contacts with my country. They are looking for have a business contacts, and I believe so. It's our common job with Mr. Alexander and the Trade Representative Office. We are should doing matching between business people, businessmen from both countries. We do not involve in specific business talks, but just to disperse more information, distributed more information about possibilities of my country here in Indonesia, try to bring more Indonesian delegations to different multilateral international fora in Russia, because we have a lot of different opportunities to discuss this issue, starting from Petersburg Economic International Forum that we hold every year, then Eastern Economic Forum in Vladivostok in the Russian Far East, which is much more closer to Indonesia than European part of my country. We've got specific international fora for transportation, for oil and gas and other fields. So we are looking for more and more contacts, and I believe as a result of these contacts, it's not only talks, but it will be specific projects and maybe programs of bilateral cooperation.
Mr. Ambassador, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about Russian culture in a nutshell. After seeing that video, how would you say Indonesian people would feel when learning about true Russian culture?
Well, so you know, Russian culture is very colorful and very different, because like even your country, which is very different, starting from, for example, Aceh province in the west and Papua in the east. So my country is also very different from European part of my country, then Caucasus region with mostly Muslim population, and Russian Far East, which is also specific culture. So it's really very colorful and very different. And but I believe so in Russia, like here in Indonesia, people are also very like to think and to dance, and well,
having fun with music and dancing.
Yes, sure, of course, of course. And what we have just seen here on the screen, so this is just one example of traditional Russian dance. Maybe it's already a little bit modernized. It's like a mixture of modern and traditional dancing, but it represents a very unique culture of my country. I really believe so. People, not only in Indonesia, but all around the world, will only can enjoy this very beautiful artists and dancers.
So a lot of Indonesians probably would be surprised to learn that the Russian culture is not a monolith. It's very different things from different regions, such as like in Indonesia. Okay,
exactly like this.
Okay. Now, in relation to trade relations, Mr. Masaltsev, how does cultural exchange, do you think, contribute to strengthening trade ties between two countries? In this case, of course, Indonesia and Russia.
Actually, I don't think we can call it culture exchange.
Okay.
I think here we're talking about the specific trade culture of Indonesians. Every day I have, as His Excellency also, many video conferences, meetings, conversations with our partners, and I can say that such Indonesian and Russian partners who enjoy to have B2B meeting, they're most successful one. What I mean, their trade culture of Indonesian is sharing tea.
That's true.
Engaging the conversation, and to look each other in eye. That's the main point. That's why we highly recommend our Russian investors and businesses to participate directly in different seminars, forums, different other events, not only in Jakarta, but across all the country. And I know a lot of examples when Russian companies come to Jakarta or to Surabaya and participate in some event and find partners and sign export or import contracts. That's very important. For example, it was the event which was held by the Moscow Export Center. It was half a year ago, and the trade representative office assist to some extent to this initiative, and the company named Xion is the producer of the special plant additives. Find a partner, and moreover, the Indonesian partner tested these additives on their plantations and was very pleased with the result. And after they signed the contract. This to be
interesting.
You can name it culture trade, but I think that's very useful.
I have a feeling you have a lot of interesting experiences doing business here in Indonesia. Maybe you also would like to add to my previous question to the ambassador of experiencing the new capital in Indonesia.
New capital. I can say that Russian businesses are very much interested in participation in such an ambitious project as New Capital Nusantara is. And in 2023, the Embassy of the Republic of Indonesia in Moscow gathered all key Russian businesses in Moscow to present them the opportunities of collaboration in that project. And in December 2023, big Russian delegation visited Nusantara directly, and during that visit they had a meeting with the administration of Nusantara and with Ministry of Investments officials. Russian companies voiced their efforts and plans and negotiated about the possibilities of participation, possible participation in that spheres. And speaking about spheres, I think that it could be the transport sphere, especially railway transport, and environmental projects, and different others.
So endless possibilities when you talk about relations between Indonesia and Russia and economic cooperation.
Of course,
Okay, gentlemen, there is still one stone that I would like to turn during this conversation, and that is the sector of tourism between our countries. But we'll take another short break. Please bear with me. And as well as you, please stay with us right here on Ambassador Press Club. We'll be right back right after this short break. You're still watching Ambassador Press Club with me, Siska Becker, and my very special guest, the Russian ambassador to Indonesia, His Excellency Sergey Tolchenov, and Trade Representative of Russia, Mr. Alex Masaltsev. Gorgeous yet intriguing visuals. We'd love to learn more from you, Mr. Ambassador. Please enlighten us on what did we just see in the video just now.
Well, it was like a short excursion of the capital of my country. It's Moscow, for different views of Moscow. But you know, I believe really that capital in every country, capital is not the whole country. Like here, Jakarta is not the whole Indonesia. I am a Muscovite. I was born in Moscow. I love the city very much, but it's not the whole my country, and the country is very different. And besides this city and St. Petersburg, which is also loved by the Indonesian visitors very much.
Yes.
We have a lot of other very interesting regions in my country. Starting from, for example, I have already mentioned maybe Dagestan, Tatarstan, and Chechnya, which is a mostly Muslim populated region. Russian Siberia and Far East with the lake of Baikal and beautiful landscapes there. And also seashore in the Black Sea with Sochi and other regions. So it's a very interesting country. And so, you know, when we are talking about tourist exchanges, we are mostly talking about Russians coming to Indonesia. But we also would like to invite and we would like to see more Indonesians in my country, because it's really very good experience. It's very nice cities and very nice architecture, history, museums, and all the other sightseeing places. But also I believe so it's a best way to understand my country, because I have heard from quite many Indonesians that after their first visit to Russia, they change opinion, because what they normally, when they got information about country here in Indonesia, unfortunately they mostly use some Western sources of information, which give completely another picture. But see by your own eyes, and you will understand Russia much more. Yes.
Okay.
It will be good.
Now, the thing with the wonders of Russia, it's not just the majestic landscape, but the history, the literature, the music. You also have to experience that yourself, right? There was one period of my life when I was obsessed with Russian literature, Your Excellency, like Dostoevsky, Tolstoy. I read all of the books, and I've always wanted to go to St. Petersburg. It's still on my bucket list until now. I haven't checked it out yet because, again, as I mentioned before, the great distance between our countries make it a bit challenging for a lot of people who would love to travel and learn more about Russia.
But now we have a direct flight.
I was going to ask you about that. What do you think of the re-establishment of direct flights between Indonesia and Russia?
Well, you know, I have been presented during this ceremony, and I believe so it was a very good word the organizers used. It was revitalization of these flights, because they exist before the pandemic, and hopefully we managed to restore these direct flights from Moscow to Denpasar and back. Now we have 3 flights a week. I have heard from, and this is done by a Russian company, Aeroflot, Russian Airlines, and I have heard from Aeroflot that during the winter time, which is for us, for people from northern hemisphere, is like a high tourist season here in Indonesia. They are ready to increase it up to 5 flights by week. But it's not the whole picture, because before pandemic it was almost every day flights. So we are looking for such possibility. It will really open up and it will give much more possibilities for the Russians to come to Indonesia. Of course, well, now mostly to Bali, but I believe so besides this island they will find also quite many other different very interesting regions in your beautiful country.
All right. Mr. Masaltsev, maybe you can tell us a little bit more about the prospect of increasing investments and the tourism sector between both of our countries, from Indonesia to Russia and from Russia to Indonesia.
Actually, from the business point of view, of course, we are interested in having a direct flight from Moscow to Jakarta or Moscow to Surabaya, because it's still very difficult logistical solutions for businesses of both countries. But we're already pleased in position of Republic of Indonesia government in arranging such a flight. And together we are working together with the Ministry of Economy of Russian Federation, which is responsible for the development of the tourism in Russia and with local governments. Every day we are trying to find some new logistics solutions, new tourist tour to attract more Indonesian citizens to Russia and vice versa.
All right. Hopefully I'll be one of the next tourists visiting Russia, especially St. Petersburg, still on my bucket list until now, Mr. Ambassador. All right, we are nearing the end of our conversation, but we're going to take a short break. When we get back, we'll have both of your closing statements to conclude our conversation. Don't go anywhere, Ambassador Press Club. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Ambassador Press Club. This is the last segment of our program, and in this special part, we'll get the closing statements from both of our guests. I would like to start with Mr. Alek Masaltsev, the trade representative of Russia. After this very enlightening conversation, what do you think would be the key highlights that would be more promising and most prospectful for business people in Indonesia and Russia?
Actually, as I already mentioned, I'm very satisfied with the current trade between Russian Federation and Republic of Indonesia, but I hope that in future we will reach a very deep collaboration in the sphere of industry, scientists and techniques, and Trade Representative Office will do its best to reach this goal, this ambitious goal. Thank you.
Right. That wish is all of our wishes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for declaring it, Mr. Masaltsev. Mr. Ambassador, this is your chance to add anything you want to add from our previous conversation and also to give a closing statement to conclude our conversation, please.
Well, first of all, I would like to stress once again, our two countries have very good and deep friendly relations. So I hope in the future these relations will be only flourishing and developing. And as an official, I can ensure that at the governmental level, at the political level, we will try to create much more favorable conditions for our business people, for ordinary people to exchange, to have good relations, to start joint projects, programs, and to cooperate. And we just would like to ask people not to be shy a little bit and to look into possibilities of our two countries and to find new opportunities, because it's really high time when Indonesia is a country which is still growing, still developing and looking for its bright future, and Russia now it's not as some people said that we are turning east, but we always because it's a Eurasian country, yes. Russia. And we always have a good policy with our eastern friends, but now we are looking more and more to this part of the world, and we are looking for possibilities to have good ties, good relations with our friends, and I believe that Indonesia will be one of our priorities in this region.
Your Excellency, you've been very generous with your time and your insights. Again, we are very privileged to have you here in the studio with us. Thank you so much for your time, as well as with you, Mr. Alek Masaltsev, Trade Representative of Russia. Thank you so much for visiting us, and hopefully we can meet again in future events between Indonesia and Russia, right here in Jakarta or in Moscow or in St. Petersburg. Again, I'm just highlighting my bucket list for now.
Sure.
And thank you so much for joining us for this edition of Ambassador Press Club. I'm Siska Becker. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care and goodbye.